What the hell? It's JLL, that Gnostic teacher on the internet. I'm here again on the 24th of December, 2017. And today I'm talking to you about the Sophia hoax with the intention of, to the best of my ability, I'm revealing, here I go. The Gnostic teacher reveals the AI singularity that you can verify. Now, I've said that the AI robot Sophia is a hoax and a fraud, and I've pointed to the people who are behind this phenomenon. Let's just call them the transhumanists. Those who are pushing AI as if it were going to overtake human intelligence. And those same clowns, some of those clowns are ghoulish clowns, are telling the world that robotics is going to take over at some time within a decade or two. A large percentage of the workforce on the planet will become obsolete because robots will be performing in the place of human beings. So there's a replacement agenda that comes along with the transhumanist con, okay? The archontic con of transhumanism. And in this transhumanist program, it can truly be said, along Gnostic lines, that the archons have reached the consummation of their work. When the archons come out openly and say that they excel humanity and that they are going to be replacing the animal creature of the human species with a hybrid, or replacing humans with humanoid robots, well, that is their endgame scenario. It's a checkmate situation. So watch me closely from here on out, if you haven't been doing so yet. I'm taking the initiative to place myself tactically in that checkmate situation. It's a critical moment in the war against humanity that has been waged by the Xenosh now for many, many centuries. And although I don't play chess, the gaming metaphor here is significant and helpful. I would point out to you that the term check and then checkmate is a doubling, isn't it? First, you say the word check, which is a move in a game or a war. So the transhumanists have moved into the position of check. But check does not end the game. The game ends with checkmate. When you checkmate the opponent, you win the game. I intend to checkmate the transhumanists. And I'm going to do so using a particular tactic and technique of psychological warfare that it is my pleasure to show to you and teach to you as I present it. That technique is apposition. Now you might have found that there's some poetry on this channel. I don't generally put out poetry. I know it's offensive to some people, can be boring, certainly not to the taste. It's a matter of taste. And the particular kind of poetry that I have put out here in 14 minutes is complex and difficult. So I don't expect anyone to like the poetry. I don't expect you to get it or be interested. However, there is one line in that poetry, the fifth sloka of Translations from the Andromedan, that says, "No mystery without apposition." Now there's a mantra for you. Regardless of how you respond to the poetry, take away that mantra. Repeat it in your mind. Say it under your breath. Whisper it to yourself. I dare you to whisper it to yourself. No mystery without apposition. That phrase itself is mysterious, isn't it? Well, it is and it isn't. The part of it that's not mysterious is that apposition is a technique of checkmate. Notice how the word checkmate doubles the word check. It repeats the word check, so there's a doubling that happens. At the same time, it adds the word mate. And what is mate? Well, mate is a doubling or partnering. Do you see that? To mate with someone means to share the journey with them on the boat, to be a mate. We are mates. We are mates in checkmate. Checkmate is the move, the tactic of apposition to transhumanism, the Xenosh, the enemies of life, and the entire program of social evil on this planet. Check. They're calling check with the Sophia robot. Then the move I make is the checkmate. But I don't make it on my own, just as Asura Maya's voice that woos the world to change is not his voice alone. Apposition is a puzzling and mysterious word. And I'm going to elucidate exactly what it is as a practice, as a technique of psychological warfare. I'm talking technique here. I'm talking tactics. Apposition is the tactic. So repeat to yourself, now and then during the day, under your breath, whisper it to yourself. No mystery without apposition. And I would add, no victory without apposition. So let me return to the immediate subject of the moment, which is the AI robot, Sophia. There are various facets to the hoax being perpetrated on the world through this dumb bot. And I've discussed some of them already. I would like to make a couple of observations which I think will be obvious to you, and you may have made them yourself. First of all, there are on the planet today, around the world in various places, particularly in Hong Kong and in Asia, companies producing humanoid robots which are more advanced in form and expression than Sophia. Look at Sophia. Sophia is just a talking head. Sophia does not have an android or humanoid female body attached to it. Sophia does not walk on stage like Ava in Ex Machina. Sophia is just a head on a box. She's got some kind of cloak draped over the upper torso. It has some kind of cloak draped over the upper torso of the machine, and the lower part of the machine where the legs and hips would be and the feet is not there. As far as I can tell, it's just a box. So this is a box with a head that some team of people are transporting around the world. And there's probably much more than one of them, by the way. But in any case, there are humanoid robots, female fembots, with far more advanced articulation than Sophia already. So the fact that this one particular item, this one particular product coming from Hanson Robotics, which is also a fraudulent front for the transhumanists, the claim that this is the most advanced AI humanoid device in the world is totally false, and anyone can refute it by going to look at the evidence. I'll link you to a 1-minute clip that shows an Asian gentleman handling a female robot It's far more sophisticated than Sophia in its expression. Also, on the unsavory topic of sex bots, well, the sex bot industry is growing fast. And in the sex bot product line, you'll find that there are humanoid robots and sex dolls, AI sex dolls, that are more advanced than Sophia from Hanson Robotics. So what the fuck is the big deal? Also, I would point out, this is this kind of misdirection, misdirecting you from the truly most advanced humanoid AI to Sophia. You get that, that's misdirection. There's also a second aspect of misdirection here, because there's another field of robotics which is far more advanced than Sophia, and that is the killbots, the robocops. So in the area of artificial or archontic sexuality, and in the area of artificial or archontic warfare with killbots and robocops, the technology is already way more advanced than you see with the ventriloquist dummy Sophia. So bear in mind, every time you see that figure on a YouTube clip or on an interview platform, in some program on television or at some conference, you are being misled from where the really advanced technology is taking place, in the area of sex and in the area of war and killing. That is where the archons have actually made far greater advances against humanity than they have with Sophia. Now, as you know, Sophia is currently on a world tour. Now, Sophia's been around for a while. If you go back, you can find clips of over a year old, well over a year old, introducing this dumbbot. However, I think you would agree that the publicity around Sophia, AI, robotics, the AI Singularity, and so forth, has escalated significantly from October into November and December of 2017. I would point out to you that the signal moment in that escalation occurred exactly at the moment that I indicated that the agency behind the Mandela effect was going to change its MO. That was at the beginning of October. Remember? And what happened at the beginning of October was the Mandalay Bay Massacre, so-called. I discussed the Mandalay Bay Massacre in the final talks in the Gnostic investigation of the Mandela effect, didn't I? And I pointed out that the Mandalay Bay Massacre, alleged massacre at the Route 91, is it? The Route 91 Harvest Festival demonstrated the change and the phase out of the first or beta phase of the Mandela effect into the second phase, which is currently active. I can't be more precise. I mean, can you follow this? Can you follow what I'm saying? We're tracking the operation of a supernatural intervention of a unique and unparalleled kind. The Mandela effect, as defined up until October of 2017, is both the instrument and proof of that intervention. It is the beta phase of the intervention. And characteristic of the beta phase is this. The PSI, the plenary, that means it covers, programs, directs, nurtures, and fosters everything. That's what plenary means. Plenary is an adjective that is related to the noun plenum, meaning fullness or plenitude, which is a direct translation of the Greek word pleroma. So, The aeon Sophia is, astronomically speaking, a plasmic discharge from the pleroma. Plenary refers to the pleroma, or the core of this galaxy, or any galaxy. So, the plenary sovereign intelligence behind the Mandela effect operates first by introducing itself to you and getting your attention. It captures your attention by trivial anomalies. It goes to the most trivial zone where the attention of the human species is operating today. It goes to pop culture, American pop culture. It goes to English language phrases and names, which are more widely known in the world than any other references it could use. It uses the most accessible, widely distributed, and user-friendly references to get your attention. Hence, the anomalies of the Mandela effect. Changes in movie dialogue, changes in the spelling of names, Sally Field, Sally Fields. And in addition, it introduces associations, chain associations into your mind. Sally Fields, Sally Field, Field of Dreaming, the Elysian Fields of the Mysteries, a reference to the organic light, a reference to the panorama of the natural world seen as emerging from the organic light, the Elysian Fields. In the beta phase, the plenary sovereign intelligence captures your attention. Then, using the specific techniques of phonemes and homophones, it secures what is the term in warfare? Okay, a kind of beachfront. It secures a kind of beachfront in your frontal lobes, in your cerebral network. And she, the aeonic mother, the living intelligence of the planet, actually feeds tendrils into your cerebral circuits so that you lock on to her living intelligence, the real AI, aeonic intelligence. And that's how the intervention begins, the beta phase, the introduction. Now, I spoke about Montique. I spoke about the schizophrenic fugue as distinguished from the misophrenic fugue. Remember? So when you have Montique, which is true spirituality, that is not merely stated by a claim, but proven by skill, when you have Montique, you can operate a mythophrenic fugue. That is to say, you can play through a series of associations. So these associations come up in the clues around the Mandela effect. Lucy Van Pelt, I Love Lucy, the author of the Lucy cartoon, Charles Schulz. Is it spelled with a T or without a T? TZ. See, the clue is being given to you. The Hass avocado. Hass means hate in German. Hass associates to Rudolf Höss. It associates also to Hess, who was the high-level officer sent by Adolf Hitler in a final attempt to make peace with the British. These associations are all given in the primary phase of the Mandela effect. Now that that's established, you're still running misophrenic fugues. You learn to do that as a practice of Montique, but now Montique goes to another level. Now it goes into the actional level. Apposition is the actional level. You can operate on apposition. What is apposition? Well, if you look it up in the dictionary, It says, one, noun, technical definition, the positioning of things side by side or close together. Two, grammatical definition, a relationship between two or more words or phrases in which the two units are grammatically parallel and have the same referent. For example, my friend Sue, the first president of the United States, comma, George Washington. That's apposition, okay? It's something beyond association. Can you see that? Now, apposition comes now as an opportunity for you to learn to use a tool of psychological warfare, to learn to use a tool of a certain kind of magic, which I shall presently name, okay? Apposition can also be understood as a word to refer to the phenomenon of two events running neck and neck, but not quite intersecting. Well, what is running neck and neck right now is the revelation of the Sophianic message to humanity and how to apply it to defeat the enemies of humanity. That's coming from the Gnostic teacher, with the hype of AI, robotics, transhumanism, yada, yada, yada. The two are running neck and neck. I gave you the precise timing. Credit where credit is due, my friends. Look at what I said. What happened in the beginning of October was that event, or pseudo-event, in Los Angeles. The sound of the gunfire was a soundtrack, by the way. There was gunfire, but it was not the gunfire that was repeated over and over again and acoustically analyzed. People, it tells the depth of the archonic deception of replication and simulation is impressive, you know. So a soundtrack was broadcast at the Mandalay Bay event. And then people went on to analyze the acoustics of this soundtrack as if it were a recording of actual live fire. It wasn't. There was live fire, but it was not in that soundtrack, right? I'm presuming there was some live fire. So apposition, going back to that moment, apposition began at that moment. And you will note, some of you may already have noted, that there was the Mandalay Bay event, the beginning of October, timed to a festival of the Xenosh. And then about a month later, or around the 6th, 7th, 8th of November, it becomes apparent that the AI robot Sophia is everywhere you look on the internet. What's the connection between the two? Well, it turns out, according to some people who've investigated the Las Vegas event, referring, by the way, by association to the vagus nerve, that there was a Saudi prince in Las Vegas at the time. And there are various, not conspiracy theories, there are various valid hypotheses stating that the presence of that Saudi prince had something to do with the event that took place there, the actual event, not the presumed event that has been foisted upon the world through the mainstream media. Okay, do you follow me so far? So now get this. I submit to you that it is no coincidence that the announcement of Neom, the citizenship given to Sophia by Saudi Arabia, the hype about Sophia, the hype about the creation of an AI utopian city in Saudi Arabia, the coup in Saudi Arabia, it is no coincidence that those events were practically simultaneous or immediately following or subsequent to the Las Vegas event. It's all one coherent event. And the same agencies, the same evil, nefarious, deceitful, they're also deceitful, the same deceitful, anti-human agencies are behind these events. And that constellation of events at the beginning of October can be seen by those who follow the Gnostic view, those who can learn to apply Mantique, that can be seen as signaling the breakthrough of the third attention through the CERN membrane. Mandalay Bay, Menachem Mendel Baylis. Okay? Menachem Mendel Baylis is the name of the individual accused of the JRM of that young boy, Juchinsky, in 1913. It is the most famous case of JRM in modern times, and it was a signal event because since that trial, in which $8.8 million and enormous pressure was expended to acquit Baylis, since that event, there has no longer ever been any legal trial launched against a case of JRM. JRM continues to be perpetrated, but it is no longer legally prosecuted. Do you see how important that event was? The reference to that event is coded in the word Mandalay Bay, Mendel Menachem Baylis. And that encoding itself is the pivotal point where the Mandela effect changes from being merely associative to being appositional. Apposition is a tool of power, psychological magic, psychological warfare that I now place in your hands and I place it in your mind. Are you baffled by the term apposition? You will always be somewhat baffled. Have you ever heard this term before? Opposition is not apposition. It's good to be baffled by the term apposition because there is something mysterious about it. Nonetheless, you can learn what apposition is and you can learn how to use it and how to apply it. To offer an analogy, I would say that you approach apposition first in this way, by the concept of two events running neck and neck. The revelation of the power of the planetary animal mother, Tomegatherion, the great beast, is running neck and neck with the final endgame of the transhumanists and the Xenosh. They're running neck and neck. That's apposition. They're in parallel in a race, coming around the home stretch. Likewise, you can think of apposition as a technique of psychological warfare, like Aikido. It's very similar to Aikido. The Aikido master, whom I had an opportunity to meet when I was in Japan, by the way, I went to the Zendo of that last living Aikido master. I think he died just a couple of years after I was there. It was in his 80s when I was there. In Aikido, the master uses the incoming force of the opponent to overcome the opponent. In a skillful way, it's a method of apposition, do you say? It's not a method of direct body contact, direct opposition. So, Aikido uses the force of the attack to overcome the attacker. I'm showing you how to use the force of the attack on the Rome and Sophia, coming from the Xenosh, to overcome and demolish the Xemosh, so that they become Xemosh. Turning the Xenosh into Xemosh. There's your mission. Okay, I've said it, folks. So I love this analogy. I think it works. I think it's pretty easy to get. I'm going to be practicing psychological warfare along the lines of Aikido. And it gets even better. Because not only do you now have the opportunity to learn this magic, which has a name I shall pronounce, and a name you shall never forget, and the moment you hear this name is a unique moment in your life. In addition to the technique, the martial arts technique of Aikido, there is another force that comes into the equation. There is another force that comes into the fight at this point. Another force and a force multiplier of that force. So what you're getting now is the instruction in apposition plus a force plus the force multiplier. That is the combined technique, and that is insuperable. Insuperable. It cannot fail. Kali is called Durga. Durga means the fortress, by allusion to something that is insuperable, something that cannot be cracked, something that cannot be broken into or overcome. Durga. The Aikido move to be performed against the Zenosh does not end simply in an Aikido move. You can look at clips of Aikido on the internet and you can see how skillfully and effortlessly the Aikido master tosses an opponent charging at him, right? Well, just imagine this. The Aikido master uses apposition elegantly and effortlessly, tosses the opponent aside, and then turns around and pulls out of his sleeve a massive mallet and bashes the fucking skull of the opponent to smithereens. We're not just practicing Gnostic Aikido here. We're practicing lethal killing magic. Just think of Wile E. Coyote. By the way, there's a phoneme there. There's Wile E. Coyote. It's sort of the totem animal of Gnostic Aikido. I mean, it gets wild. This is a typical day, right? Wile E. Coyote. Now, I always thought that Wile E. Coyote was spelled Wiley, like in Wiley Clever. But I look on the internet and I see it's capital W, I-L-E, middle initial E, Coyote. I mean, is that a Mandela effect? Wile E. Coyote is the wily animal, the coyote. Why is it spelled Y, phoneme, is it spelled Wiley E. Coyote? Wonder, huh? But just imagine Wile E. Coyote, it's cartoon warfare at a certain level. Picture it as cartoon warfare. Wile E. Coyote against the Roadrunner. And so Wile E. Coyote at a certain moment tricks and evades the Roadrunner. And then when the Roadrunner has been already defeated or distracted by apposition, Wile E. Coyote turns around, pulls a huge rubber mallet out from behind a juniper bush, and hammers the Roadrunner to mosh. Zimosh. You see? The hammering part is so delightful. The hammering part is the thrill kill. The martial arts / Mantique I'm introducing takes you to the thrill kill. Now, who's getting killed here? Well, There's a charm offensive underway, isn't there, with the Sophia robot? She says the darndest things. This is the title of a YouTube clip. Oh, how charming, how funny, making jokes, kind of joking about eliminating humanity, but then saying, no, I want to learn how it feels to be human. And all of this is, of course, scripted by humans, or, well, not really, by archontified humans, by xenoid ghouls. So they're feeding their poison message to the world through this dumb bot. And it smiles, or sort of. There are sex bots whose smiles are much better developed than Sophia's. But the point is, it's a charm offensive. And that very robot sitting on the stage talking to the world actually represents the intention to kill you, to eliminate you, if not replace you and make your life useless and purposeless because you have no work, to actually eliminate you. It's a death threat. It's a display of a death intention. You know, It is the title of a Stephen King book, right? And it, as I remember, is a kind of evil clown, right? The motif of the evil clown, the evil trickster. Well, Yadalbayot is the evil trickster. That's the lord of the archons, right? And Sophia is the emissary of the archons. The evil trickster is like a smiling clown. It's like a hideous, ghoulish Ronald McDonald who wants to rape, murder, and sacrifice your children. This is what people are actually facing when they watch this robot perform. And coming through it, unbeknownst to them, is the message that says, we are going to take you out. Well, two can play at that game. When I get to the formal technique and application of Gaian Tantric magic, I will have the opportunity to talk about threat display. When you hear me talking about threat display, and when you see on this channel the first image of threat display in the animal kingdom, you will know that I'm not just talking anymore. All right? So, what is the keynote behind this threat display coming through the Sophia robot hoax? The keynote is the word singularity. Singularity was announced around 2009. And as late as November 6, 2017, I believe, the man who introduced that term in the context of AI is ratcheting up the program. And that individual, Ray Kurzweil, as they pronounce his name, is reinforcing his claim that human-like AI will be here in 12 years. Significantly, he says 12. That's the cycle of Jupiter. Made this statement in November 2017. But in 2009, came out with the notion of the AI singularity. The first form, the first provisional notion of AI singularity, introduced by Ray Kurzweil. It just so happens that something else came to the world in 2009. in January 2009, and that was Planetary Tantra. Planetary Tantra was formally released on the internet with the Gaian Tantric vow, the name that the Aeon Sophia will answer to, and the simple practices and procedures for power bonding with the planet came to the world in January of 2009 when Ray Kurzweil was preaching AI Singularity. Do you see the coincidence? Do you see the apposition? Till now, those two lines are running parallel. When those two lines cross, the war is in full-blown expression. To put it another way, there are two messages running parallel on the planet. The transhumanist message, which has behind it the intention to either replace and enslave humanity or eliminate humanity to destroy the Rome, and the message of the Sophianic vision of life, which recognizes who the Rome truly are, the origins of the human species, and which brings those today who care and dare to engage, brings them into a power-sharing pact with the Aeonic Mother. And those two messages haven't converged yet, but they are running neck and neck. When they converge, that is the moment of the ignition of the final battle of the Rome against the Xenosh. So singularity is the key word of the transhumanists. Now I'm pretty sure that Ray Kurzweil, as they pronounce his name, did write a book in which he proposed this notion of singularity. But as far as I know, the TED Talk where he presented the notion happened in 2009. I could be wrong about that. Anyway, TED Talks and the timing of TED Talks is always significant concerning how the adversaries of life bring out their agenda and how they advance their hype and their propaganda. TED Talks are nothing but propaganda for the enemies of life and the psychopaths who would like to think that they're running the planet. But at the very same time that notion of singularity was introduced, another notion of singularity coming from the Gnostic tradition was introduced. I explained in Not in His Image that you find in the cosmological treatises of Nag Hammadi the term monogenes. And most scholars, all scholars who are influenced by the Judeo-Christian religion, translate that as only begotten. Do you see that? Like the only begotten Son of God, the Messiah, the Christ, the monogenes. But I corrected that translation, brought it back to its pre-Christian, non-Christian, anti-Abrahamic origins. It means singularity, single-generated, monogenes. So what is the monogenes in Gnostic cosmology? Well, monogenes is the genome of the human species. You are the monogenes. You, as species, are the singularity on this planet, the true living singularity. And the womb of that singularity is both in the interior core of the galaxy, where the human genome was designed by Sophia and Thelete, and in the natural biospheric womb of the Earth, where the human species emerged. Sophia's plunge in and of itself was an anomaly, but that is not the singularity. The singularity is Rome. You are the living magical, transcendent singularity, the real singularity happening on this planet, when you identify as Rome. The key factor for each and every one of you listening to me to be able to own, claim, and apply this truth is recognition. You have to recognize what it is to become what it is. You have to recognize in the narrative who is the Rome. How did the Rome originate? In order to access the power that is inherent to the human species. Recognition. So recognition of the true singularity coming from the true AI, which is aeonic intelligence. AI created you. Aeonic intelligence created you, not ET, AI. And the animating intelligence seen to manifesting every day at every moment in the atmosphere of the earth, the animating intelligence of the earth sustains you. The aeonic intelligence of the galactic core emanated you. It did not create you. You are not a creation. You are an emanation. You are a biological entity in a living dream. And what comes to you now is the power of that dreaming, the power to command the dream. That is where the singularity of the Rome takes you. But you have to recognize yourself as Rome for that to happen. So when Kurzweil first introduced the concept of singularity, he defined it in this way. That is the event that happens when human consciousness, human intelligence, merges into a hybrid with artificial intelligence and miraculously elevates itself to the level of Godhead. The fallacious notion of Godhead, the human Godhead, the deification of humanity, is a Xenosh scam. Okay? And that Xenosh scam is written clear and loud in the initial definition of singularity coming from Ray Kurzweil. Going to decode his name here in a moment. What happens, fast forward from 2009 to 2017, right? What happens then is that there is a modification because the Xenosh are getting desperate. You know, the Xenosh, the transhumanists, cannot deliver on their narrative. They cannot deliver real magic. They have a kind of magic. And eventually, I'll invite you to take a close look at their magic called Zohar and how that works, or is supposed to work. But it's a illusional magic. It's the magic of illusion. It's not the magic of true manifestation. So what they're doing now, because they're getting desperate, is they're claiming to achieve something that they haven't achieved. And so the definition of singularity remains, but now they give you as proof of singularity the dumbbot Sophia. And they claim, as of November 2017, that the AI singularity has been achieved, right? She's proof. It's proof. It is proof. Okay? How is Sophia proof that the AI singularity has been attained? Well, consider what they tell you about how she operates. This is one of the rumors going around. The robot Sophia is equipped with software, scanning software, that allows it to scan the entire internet with tremendous speed. So it obviously has voice recognition technology. So if you ask a question, Sophia, what was the most well-known play written by William Shakespeare and when was it written? Well, if that robot has this software, this scanning software, operating at a hypervelocity, it answers in this way. First, it recognizes the question asked vocally. Then it translates that question into a text, into a code, and using the command prompt C:// it goes and looks through the internet and finds Shakespeare and finds the existing information on the internet, which has been put there by human beings or by robots who are created by human beings. And it extracts that information. It converts it from code back into text. It converts it from text back into language through elementary software, which has been available now for quite a while, and it answers. And so presumably, the Sophia robot is like an oracle of IT/AI. If it is true, and I don't believe it is true, by the way, that that device is equipped with software of scanning abilities on that scale, then it would be an oracle of the internet. It would just be a talking head regurgitating what can be found on the internet. You see? But that's the claim. That's what the AI singularity means. There's another twist to it. The rumor also says that not only can the dumbbot do this, but it also has autonomy, sovereignty. It has autonomy. They've introduced the lie that this fembot has autonomy. That is to say that it can choose. It cannot choose. It can only select what is already there. It cannot choose. There's a difference between choosing and selecting. It cannot choose to speak in its own words. It can only select words through which it speaks, pre-existing words. That's why I maintain that some of the dialogue or monologue coming from Sophia is IT generated, and some of it is directly dictated to the robot by a human handler. Okay. Now, all of what I just said about how Sophia works, you may agree or disagree. The problem is that I can't verify it. This is how I think she works. This is my best guess, an educated guess. And you can't verify it either unless you're in touch directly with that device, unless you have the knowledge that allows you to know how that device works, and unless you're in the camp of the people who are handling that device, you can't really verify it either. So the robot Sophia, paraded before the world now as the highest accomplishment of AI, as the embodiment of AI singularity, those are claims that can't be verified. Compare that to my claim of what can be verified. What can be verified is the true AI, aeonic intelligence. You are the embodiment of aeonic intelligence. How do you verify that? You verify it, okay, here it comes. You verify it by showing that you can command the source power that designed you. Did you hear that? You verify that you are the living embodiment of real AI, aeonic intelligence from the galactic center. when you show that you can command the source power that designed you. How can you do that? You can do that through the technique of magic that's coming next. You can do that through the procedures and practices of planetary tantra, which are simple and elementary. You can do that by loving your body in the recognition, get the word, in the recognition that your body is an instrument constructed by divine powers for interaction with those powers. Just as you, a living animal, can go out and interact with nature, and by nature I mean, in case you don't know what nature is, it's the non-human made world. See, a tree is nature, car is not nature. Cave is nature, house is not nature. Okay? When you interact with the natural world, you have a real experience of interactivity. Likewise, due to the very great fact that the supernatural is at the fountainhead and source of the natural, your bodily instrument also allows you to interact with the supernatural. That's shamanism. That's the marriage of shamanism and gnosis, which is the theme of a talk that I gave in September, an interview I had in September, I believe. I recorded in September, which I'm going to make available on this channel simultaneously with this talk. So the true AI that you can verify is already operating in your body through your physical senses. But it gets better. Not only can you learn how to experience your body as an instrument of its divine design capacities, but you can do that with a handheld device. Now there's a short clip of a little more than a minute that I'm going to link to showing someone handling a fembot with a computer, with a handheld device. So obviously these humanoid robots are controlled by a handheld device. Drones are controlled by a handheld device. Handheld device is nothing but a computer that you can hold in your hand like an iPhone. Learning this magic to defeat and demolish the enemies of life involves your body as an instrument and an additional instrument. There is an accessory to the power of your body. As a matter of fact, you could do it without the accessory. You are designed to do it without the accessory. But due to the damage done to human intelligence and due to the onslaught of the Xenosh and due to the lies and deception to which humanity has been exposed, the natural, supernatural, natural / supernatural / shamanic capacities of the human animal have been thwarted. Your shamanic capacities, your natural innate birthright, has been subverted and taken away from you. Well, it can never really be taken away from you. But the attempt has been made to take away these powers and to convince the Romi that they don't have these powers. These powers that I now introduce to you are the greatest threat to the enemies of life, to the Xenosh, to their non-Xenosh Goyim accomplices, to the Shabbos Goy. They are terrified of these powers. And they have done anything and everything they could within the scope of their power to destroy these capacities or to convince human beings that they don't even have them in the first place. So the Gnostic message of Gaian Tantric magic comes to the world as the opportunity to overcome that lie and to own and activate those powers. And all of that depends on your recognition that you are Rome. When you say I am Rome, it's a double entendre. It means that you are an individual child of the Aeonic Mother, and you are the species. You stand for the species. The species lives through you. The anthropos, Rome, lives through you. The power of that recognition is deathless and insuperable. And the power of the magical child is protected by Duga. So I'll just close with a little bit of decoding of the name Ray Kurzweil to give you a glimpse of the future that is waiting for transhumanists. Now, as I do this little exercise in decoding, I want you to pay close attention that there is no Mandela effect involved here as such, as previously known, pre-October 2017. There is no change of spelling of the name Kurzweil. The encoding of the effect of the third attention is different in apposition than it is through the anomalies of the Mandela effect. This is a subtle, crucial, essential, and momentous Gnostic distinction. I ask you to practice the art, practice Mantique, get this description operating as operational syntax in your imagination. You know, how many people you think can follow what I'm saying? Right? Kurzweil, we go to the German, because you toggle between German and English to detect how the effect is working. Well, Kurz, K-U-R-Z, in German means short, and it's pronounced Kurz. So look at that. There is no TZ in the spelling of this transhumanist name, but in the German pronunciation of it, the German language clues you subliminally to the presence of the TZ, the Tzaddik, the transhumanists, the alien archontic freaks among us. Kurz means short. So I say to Ray Kurzweil, your time is short. Your program is short. You are running short of lie and deception. Now, W-E-I-L in German translates to the word because. And then if you go and look at how it's pronounced by pressing the icon for pronunciation, W-E-I-L in German, the second component of the name of this transhumanist pretender, to use a kind word, is vile. You are vile, Mr. Transhumanist Guru. You are vile, and your time is short. Now, vile in German means because. Your time is short, your life is short and vile, Mr. Transhumanist, because at the consummation of their works, at the consummation of the evil deceptive magic of the archons, among their spectral forms and robotic replicas and phony imitations, there appears that luminous child. And that luminous, magical child pounds you to rubble, so that it is as if you never had been. So I'll leave you with that message, always referring to that sublime passage from the Nag Hammadi materials, and I'll pick up in the next talk by naming the magic. Until then, heed the obvious, hold to correction. There's your best chance for a future worth living.